is a very good one.
Okay, we are now live. Just trying to get it straight.
Came over. That's very good. Sockade allows patients to put on socks. Look at this. Put your socks on.
Right, okay. Ian, let's get going. We're live. There are people watching already live. There are people watching it here. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. You know, you feel like people are watching and then I see it's Phil like on his mobile, you know? But you know, if you are watching, please like and share so that other people can watch as well. It'd be nice of you. Okay, thanks, John. Appreciate your appreciate your custom. Yeah, thank you for your custom. Please close. Do you remember that in Copes? Right.
Thank you for your custom. Please close the lift doors.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay.
Please close both the lift doors.
Do you remember that? You don't remember that from Copes? We used to go shopping at Copes?
No.
Yeah, it was very good.
Got it.
You've got it. Ian's found it. Ian's found
Got it
it.
somewhere.
Right. Okay, gentlemen, lady and gentlemen, for that matter. Okay.
You're not on.
I am not on? What do you mean I'm not on? I'm watching myself. Roz Nathan's watching me. John Feingold's watching me.
So why can't I watch you?
Why can't you watch me? I don't know. No, you're going the wrong thing. No, that's the wrong thing. You're doing it wrong. You gotta go to our page and you'll find it. Go to our page and you'll see. There I am.
Oh,
Now I'm
yeah.
live. You can see me. Now, okay.
Oh,
Fine.
you go.
Right. Can we get started with this topic?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll explain to you soon. I want to go through a bit of the preliminaries about Zionism before I come to the point of why I'm speaking about this today, and we'll see what you think about this. Right. Let me start with the following declaration. I'm going to make the following declaration, and that declaration says, every Jew, by definition, is a Zionist. It just depends on how you define it. So let me start with the following. We have plenty of verses in the prophets, Od Yishama Bara Yehuda, Od Yeshua Zakenu. So you can go through the prophets. You'll see it again and again within the prophets. What is the final goal? What are we all pining for? What are we all davening for? We are all davening that one day we will return to Yerushalayim with Mashiach. Okay? That's all over the prophets. That's indisputable. As well as, have a look in davening, you'll find in Shemana Esrei, you'll find 4 brachas that deal with Yerushalayim. Okay? The rabbi yesterday, Rabbi Doron, dealt with one of them, which said, Tekabish of Agala Cherusenu, blow a great shofar for the Cherusenu to free us. The son is Lekabis Cherusenu, raise a banner to bring our Golus to its end. And bring us together from 4 corners of the land. But beyond that, there's another one. To Jerusalem, you see, take us back with great mercy. The sprouting of David, your Eved, your servant, you should sprout quickly. We're waiting for Yeshua. We're waiting for your salvation. Where's our salvation? In Yerushalayim. You should want your Jewish nation and their prayers, and bring back your avodah to your house. Okay? So again and again within the prophets, within our davening, 3 times a day, 4 times within the Shemana Esrei. That means Shemana Esrei has almost 20 blessings. 20% of them are taken up with Yerushalayim and making it back to Yerushalayim. So there's nobody that can turn around and say that it's not a Jewish ideal or ideal that we want to return to Jerusalem. That has always been and always will be a Jewish idea and Jewish ideal. The question is to split Zionism into 2 different understandings and categories, and then to look at the different people and see how they see with it, the Zionism within it. And that's the following. You have religious Zionism and you have political Zionism. Religious Zionism has existed from time immemorial because that's part, or not time immemorial, maybe let's turn around and we'll say it's existed definitely since the destruction of the Second Temple. As soon as the Second Temple was destroyed, what did we say? We hope and we pray and we pine for the day that Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to take us back to Jerusalem. We're going to make our way back to Israel and we're going to be, let me just see if we can get this looking a little bit more normal. Sorry. We're going to look for the day that we're going to be back in our land, back as free Jews, in our country, being able to have a religion. However, in the 1800s, there's another thing that developed, which was called political Zionism. And political Zionism said something else. And I think Herzl was the founder, probably, of political Zionism. When he saw what happened at the Dreyfus trial, when he saw what happened, that here was a man who was fully integrated into French society. Here was a man that was fully assimilated. I don't think Dreyfus's children were Jewish. I mean, his children might have been Jewish, but I don't think his grandchildren would have been Jewish. And yet, there was still anti-Semitism. He was still used as a scapegoat by the French government. And if you read about it, you'll see how many times it went wrong and how many things went wrong and how many people disappeared or died, etc., etc. It wasn't so simple. There was a trail leading in a totally different direction, and they ignored that trail and they used Dreyfus as their scapegoat. And Dreyfus became the man that everybody said was guilty, but in reality, Dreyfus wasn't guilty. Okay? And Herzl looked around and says to himself, if we had a Jewish country, this wouldn't happen. But Herzl's idea of political Zionism is a different idea to the religious Zionism. Because Herzl says, we need a country where the Jewish people can live, where the Jewish people can be safe, where the Jewish people can have a democracy, where everything will be okay for them. And as far as Herzl is concerned, Uganda would have also done the job. Because we don't need a religious homeland for the Jewish people. We need a place where the Jewish people can have a home and be safe, regardless of the religious significance of this homeland. That is what the difference was between what political Zionism said and religious Zionism said. Okay? Pardon me. And then, religious Zionism takes another turn. One more bit that we need to add to the idea of religious Zionism, and that is the idea called Reshit Smichat Geulatenu. Okay? Once the land had been received, once the land had been developed by the Jewish people and they had won the War of Independence, within national religious Mizrahi ways of looking at the world and of their hashkafa, they have a new concept that's called Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu, which means this is the beginning of the sprouting of our Geula. They see within the state of Israel the early stages of Mashiach. That means the Messiah is already on his way, and this is stage one of Mashiach. Again, within religious Zionism, there's a split. So there are many people that will say, yes, we believe in the state of Israel, but no, we don't believe in this concept of Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu, that this is the beginning of the sprouting of our salvation. The state of Israel, as it stands today, is not our salvation yet. It's not the beginning of Yeshiach yet. It might be a wink from God in that direction, but it's not started the process yet. Whereas others say, no, this has started the process. This is where we're up to. We've already in the times of Mashiach, and we've already started the process. And now you look at the Jewish society, and you split them into, it's horrible to split people like this, but let's split them anyway into different categories. And every category that you will find will buy into one or two of these Zionisms. Nobody will tell you that they don't buy into any of these Zionisms. So we'll start with a secular. If you take a secular Jew might buy into religious Zionism, but definitely, hopefully, will buy into political Zionism. However, I mean, this is also problematic because nowadays some of the younger Israelis are losing that vibrancy within their Zionism. It's not as important to them anymore to be Zionistic as it used to be. And their Zionism is that, you have young Israelis that are making Yeridah. They don't have this dream of living in Israel. It's not a big dream anymore. I would like to live in California. Why would I want to live in Israel? I can make more money in California. There are more famous people in California, etc., etc. And a lot of people, especially in the very leftist camp, also are very, very critical of Israel, the way Israel handles things, the fact that Israel's taken away land from the Palestinians, etc., etc. They don't see it anymore with the same vigor that they used to see it. However, I would say that's a minority. The majority of secular Israelis are very proud to be Israelis, are proud of their land, are proud of their flag, are proud of their government. Whether the government makes mistakes sometimes or doesn't, but in general they're proud of their government, and they are proud political Zionists. Some of them will be religious as well, but almost all of them will be political Zionists. You take the national religious and Mizrahi movement, they have taken the political Zionism and religious Zionism and have meshed them into one. Okay? And therefore, they see within political Zionism, as we mentioned before, Reshit Tzmichat Gulatenu, the beginning of the sprouting of the Geula, and therefore participating within Israeli society, being part of Israeli society, going to the army, for example. To them, going to the army is a religious must. You know, you can look at Haredim, they'll tell you it's a religious no-go zone. They'll tell you it's the other way around. It's a religious must. If you're going to believe that this state is the beginning of the Mashiach and the beginning of the sprouting of our Geula, then interacting with that state, being part of that state, and making the most of that state is of extreme importance. You can't ignore it. It's part of the process of Mashiach. What are we going to ignore this process? And so, in the Mizrahi movement, they will take political Zionism and say, extremely important. Religious Zionism and say extremely important. Mesh the two together, and they will be the ones that will believe in both of these Zionisms. If you move a bit more into the more Haredi, more to the right, you will find that their political Zionism doesn't speak to them as much. However, the religious side of Zionism will speak to them, and they will go as far as to say that maybe we don't believe in the political ideas and ideals of the state of Israel. However, we are still thankful to the state of Israel for all the things that they give us, the healthcare, the roads, the fact that we have a security, etc., etc. All that you can still be thankful for, even if you don't believe in the secular ideal of having a state. It doesn't mean that we ignore it. It's just that we see ourselves as religious Zionists. In the end of the day, today, there's never been a time to be able to sit and practice your Judaism in Israel in the way that you can other than today. Today is just, it's amazing. You go to Israel, the whole Israel is one, if anybody's been to Israel for Yom Tov, it's not like Manchester. The entire country is taken over, is swept up by this Yom Tov. Definitely in Yerushalayim, I don't know what it's like. If you go maybe to Tel Aviv, it might be less like that because they're more secular. But even there, I'm sure there's a part that can be felt. But you go to Yerushalayim, everywhere you go, before Sukkot, there's Sukkot all over the place. And every little corner you go to, and every shop is selling, a Esrogim. You say, I thought you're a hardware shop. I know, but we bought a few Esrogim, might as well sell those also. Yeah, that's what happens in Israel. Every second shop is like, would you like a little of an esrog together with your new lock? What? That's how it goes. But that's what they do. The whole country's swept up in this. Yeah,
just like New York. Just same as New York.
Well, not in the same way. New York is a big city full of it. It's got many Jews, but Israel is the Jewish country. There's no way of comparing any Yom Tov anywhere in the world to Israel. If you're in Borough Park, maybe. If you're in Flatbush, maybe. But here it's a whole city. It's a whole country that lives a Yom Tov. Okay, it's a very, very different story. And everybody, no matter how from you are, is going to realize and recognize that there are freedoms and there are religious privileges that we enjoy today, that we only enjoy today because we have a state. No question about it. And they'll be thankful for that. But they might not turn around and say, but I still don't believe in the political ideal of having a state for the having a state. I only believe in it in the religious side of things. Okay? But even the Neturei Karta, when the Neturei Karta turn around and say Zionism is not Judaism. When they say Zionism is not Judaism, what do they mean? Political Zionism is not Judaism. They don't mean to say that there is no such thing as Zionism within Judaism. Because if they say that, then you say to them, really? Have you read the prophets recently? Have you done Shemona Esrei? All these people are very firm people. They will have done Shemona Esrei 3 times a day. I guarantee you that. If they don't, then they're just fakers. But most of these people, they will have done Shemona Esrei 3 times a day. And you say to them, did you say Ritzei? Did you say Esemach? Did you say Yerushalayim Mechad? Did you say Tekah B'Shov HaGadol? You have said these things. Don't tell me you don't believe in the religious ideals of the fact that they say, yes, but we don't believe in the idea of having a state until Mashiach comes. And we believe that the idea of having a state until Mashiach comes goes against the Gemara, not to be discussed now, but goes against the Gemara, and therefore it brings tremendous tragedies, calamities upon the Jewish people, and therefore we believe we are against the state. Okay? But even if they are against the state and vehemently against the political Zionism, they will still tell you, but we still believe in coming back to Eretz Yisrael. We believe in coming back to Yerushalayim. We believe that this is our homeland. They're not going to tell you we want to move to Uganda. They also won't tell you to move to Uganda. And it's the other way around. You'll find sometimes if you look at the people that, before the Zionists moved, the political Zionists moved to Israel, who lived in Israel, who moved there before them? The Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov and the Talmidim of the Gro. The Yerushalmis, the real Yerushalmis that live there in Meir Sharim have been there longer than the Zionists. But they'll tell you, we lived happily ever after then. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I don't think the life in Meir Sharon was a walk in the park in the 1800s or in the 1700s. But we lived there under the Arab rule, and it was okay, and there's no reason why we can't go back under Arab rule. Whether that's correct or not is irrelevant. But the point is, they will also admit to you that they look forward to the day that we all return back to Eretz Yisrael, and we all return back to Yerushalayim with Mashiach. And if they tell you they don't, then they're going against one of the 13 principles of faith. Right? I believe with Mashiach is going to come. And when Mashiach comes, that's one of the 39 commandments, number 12. And when Mashiach comes, we will all move back to Eretz Yisrael. That is part of the plan of the Mashiach. If you don't believe in that, then you're missing a basic tenet of the faith. So everybody has to believe that. And so therefore, when I turn around and I say that everybody, there is no such thing as a Jew who is not a Zionist, I think it's true to say that. It's just how you define that Zionism. What do you do with the Zionism now that you've defined it? Do I see it my way? Do I see it his way? Do I see it the very secular way, the very religious way, the Haredi way, the Neturei way, the Mizrahi way? Everybody has a different way of defining that concept, but we all agree that at one point or another, that is part of our plan. Okay? And if it's a Jewish concept, obviously we can be very proud of this concept, and we should just, we can live with it and hold our head high with it. But are there limits to that? So now I want to discuss the limitations within the pride of Zionism. And the reason this is coming up is because of a story. Let me tell you a story that happened to me this week. And that's really what brought me onto this topic. I know the topic sounds a little bit more controversial than I was hoping it was going to be. And I hope it doesn't become any more controversial than it is. Right? But a fellow came over to me in Machzik Gadas on Monday morning. Monday morning, we have a program in Machzik Gadas called Start Your Day the Torah Way. Every day they have a different speaker that's going to get up, that's going to speak there. And Monday morning, a fellow walks over to me in Machzik Gadas from our shul and says to me, he says, Rabbi, I have a 500-pound check in my pocket. It's open. And I will make that 500-pound check out to any charity you ask me for. I was going to say my pocket, but that's not a charity, right? Pardon? Moshe's Bar Mitzvah charity, right? By the way, we'll mention that we haven't been making my mitzvah in 2 weeks. Please do join us for that Bar Mitzvah. And no, there's no Moshe's Bar Mitzvah charity. Thank you. Right? However, he says to me, I got that little check in my pocket. It's made out to 500 pounds to any organization you like. If you stand up over here this morning, it's just before the speech, if you stand up over here this morning, it was Yom HaZikaron, and speak for 10 minutes about the importance of Yom HaZikaron, the importance of Israeli soldiers, and the importance of Yom HaTzmaut, and I will give you 500 pounds for that. And I said to him, my dear friend, the answer is no, right? To which he says, he looks me straight in the face, he goes, you're a coward. That's the hazards of the job, right? Yeah, you're a coward. It's funny because then I told the story Friday night to somebody else within our shul, and he looks at me and goes, and I'll match that 500 pounds. And I said to him, I don't care, And the guy said, well, you're still a coward. Yeah? So go ahead, call me a coward, see if I can.
Is there a price to accept?
No, let me go there. No, there's no price I would accept. And let me explain. Why why there's no price that I would accept. Okay? Let me flip it round. Okay? Let me give you a scenario. This is not a true scenario. I've made up the scenario. Please don't even think that the scenario exists. Okay? Let's say I got a phone call from the Gabbai of the Haradonka Rebbe. The Haradonka Rebbe wants to meet up with you. And I sit down in the Haradonka Rebbe's chair, and he says in his office, and he says to me, Yom HaTzmaut's coming up this week. I'm like, yeah. Do you know we Hasidim, we don't believe in this Yom HaTzmaut business? I'm like, yeah, I know that. You don't have to tell me that. He goes, well, he pulls out his checkbook and writes a check for 5,000 or 50,000 pounds. And he says, I got a speaker who's a real Neturei Kartanik. And I'd like him to speak on Shabbos morning, the week of or the week after Yom HaTzmaut, in your shul, to give a sermon about the perils of Yom HaTzmaut and the state of Israel. And this 50,000 pound check here on the table goes to any charity you like or straight into your pocket. If I accepted that money, what would you all say?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Here's the door. Yeah? Yeah? What would you say? Would you? Pardon?
I'd say, listen, democracy.
What's democracy? That's not democracy.
Allowing him to sit there and talk to everybody and let the children.
No, I. By the way, I don't believe in that. I'm a very, very big. I'm a big. I'm against that. Like recently, who was it? There was somebody, one of the MPs that had a. Who was it? Do you remember this? Right? Even I shared it on Facebook. There was an MP that ran a pro-Palestinian rally in. It wasn't a rally. It was by some kind of pro-Palestinian organization. They ran something in the House of Parliament, and one of the speakers there was. Pardon?
It was in Preston.
No, it's in House of Parliament.
It wasn't House of Parliament. It was a Preston MP and it ran in House of Parliament. I shared it on my Facebook page. I remember there was an article about it, and there were a few people that got up and they made trouble, and they were ousted out of that meeting. There were a few pro-Israeli political activists that were in that room, and they were ousted out of that meeting. And the fellow said, and the fellow who housed it or created it says, I didn't realize that this fellow who was giving the speech was so controversial. Yeah? And I feel very strongly, as a rabbi of a community, and this is small compared to House of Parliament, if you're going to have somebody step into this shul and speak, I'm only going to, I vet the speakers that come here. I'm not going to have anybody come here and speak, because I don't know if they're going to say something that I'm not happy with. Or I don't know if they're going to get up and say something that's going to really irk the community. If I have a guy here, now taking that example, if I have a guy here that I know before, and a priori I know this guy's coming to speak against Yom Ha'atzmaut and against the state of Israel and to lambast the entire idea, even if I got a £50,000 check in my pocket, I would never do that. Because
you can speak 2:30 on the Shabbos afternoon when there's no one here.
he could come 2:30 speak Shabbos afternoon.
And I'll take the
And we'll take the, and
£50,000.
then we'll take the money.
I'd
Then
be
we
more
would.
than happy.
Yeah, that's more than I can work with that. But not a full shul.
Oh, no.
Why not?
But he
Why not?
Does he want to actually have the full shul?
No, but of course he would want the full shul. He doesn't want to come to the shul to speak to an empty shul. The point was to speak to our people. Because in the end of the day, this is how I understand it, the institution called Shrubberies has placed their trust in me to allow certain people to speak from the pulpit and to disallow others to speak from the pulpit. Who was it? Right? What was his name? Mark Hendrick. That's right. Mark Hendrick from Preston. Yeah? But the institution called Shrubberies, our shul, has placed their trust in me to only allow certain people at the pulpit. And if they're going to get up and going to lambast something that everybody here holds holy and everybody here holds to be almost dogmatic to their way of life, how dare I allow somebody like that to get up and speak from the pulpit? Well, because you're going to give me 50 grand into my pocket? That's cruel. That's not being cowardly. That's just standing up for the institution that's put their trust in you. And so, whether you like it or not, if the Machzika Nas has placed their trust in me, they realize that I am not going to get up and going to betray their trust by speaking about something that's going to annoy the people that are around them. What I personally believe is irrelevant to them. They can say, you can believe whatever you want to, but if you're going to get up over here and you're going to speak about something that's going to get everybody else upset, is going to rile everybody else, so then you don't belong here. So it's going against their trust, number one. Number two, I do feel also it is irrelevant to discuss these things with people that will never share your view. Because all you're going to do is going to create arguments, fights, and many a time, I know people like to discuss these kind of things, but many a time you get into discussion with people where I'm not going to change my mind and he's not going to change his mind. And then it just gets very, very heated, and everybody starts screaming at each other, and they get very, very, but in the end of the day, all you've done is upset each other. Nobody's moved, because you've decided before you had the conversation, I'm not moving on this. None of you, if you would have the conversation, if you wanted a conversation with somebody who didn't believe in Zionism, Phil, would you ever turn around and say to yourself, I'm going to that conversation open-minded that he might be able to convince me that Zionism is wrong? You wouldn't say that to yourself. You know that Zionism is the right way. You know that's what you want to hold up, and no conversation with anybody you're going to have. You might concede a point here or there. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that. But we're not going to give up our hard-fought beliefs just for a conversation with somebody else. So to get up and to have a conversation in a room full of people that disagree with me is just stupid. There was I'm running out of time. there was a thing called Moed. If you remember, there was a fellow called Leo Mercer that had created this program called Moed, and this program called Moed was running from Bnei Akiva, and it had different speakers with different topics. And he once called me up. He says, Rabbi Eisenberg, regardless of your personal convictions, we are having a Moed around Yom Ha'atzmaut time, and we'd like to have a discussion about pro-Israel versus like anti-Israel. Would you be willing to come to Bnei Akiva, regardless of your personal convictions, and play the part now, of the anti-establishment, anti-Israel, side, so that we can have this debate? And I said to him, you must be kidding me. Yeah?
So
why?
Someone won't see it.
But first of all, someone won't see it as what it is. That he's just asked me to do this as a favor, right? But more than that, why would I walk into Bnei Akiva, a staunchly Zionist religious institution, and stand up there and say anything else other than what they want to hear? It's just suicide, because I'd have 70 people in the crowd lynching me. Yeah? Say, no, I'm not doing this because I believe in it. Yeah, but they don't care, right? I don't want to get up in a room full of people that disagree with everything I have to say and flaunt my views anyway. What's the point of that? And in this case, it's not even my views, right? It wasn't even my view. I don't believe in that.
I'm front page
Yeah.
the next week.
And Rabbi Eisenberg gets up in front of 70 people at a packed Moed and lambasts Israel. That wasn't the point. At BA. It was ridiculous. Why would I do such a thing? It's career suicide, it's political, it's the whole thing. It's ridiculous. I said, no, thank you. Am I wearing a t-shirt that says stupid on it? How dumb do I look?
Why would somebody ask you to do that?
No, because I understand why they wanted to do it. They wanted to create a situation of... I guess they felt that I would be able to sort of represent the other side well, maybe. I don't know. But, the bottom line is, I wouldn't do that because it's not, again, it's wrong to the institution, it's wrong to the shrubberies, it's wrong to Bnei Akiva, it's wrong to the institutions that I represent to get up and to make that kind of comment. Regardless of what I believe or what I don't believe, and I don't believe in that. But, it's just wrong. Okay? Yeah, and I don't know if you would say Sachel Hashem. It could be, because people might sort of misread what I'm doing and say, I can't believe a rabbi talks like that. Maybe, But that's what I'm saying. There has to be a limit within that. That even if I staunchly believe in my Zionism, I don't need to stand up everywhere and make a point about it. Okay? Because, I'll finish with this, I can't go through everything. But pride doesn't have to be shoved in people's faces. There's this old Yiddish joke that they used to tell. There was a fellow, this Yiddish guy that was walking through, I don't know if you've had, here in England they don't have it like this, but in Europe, if you go on certain trains, they have like compartments. And each compartment has like 6 seats. And you go into one compartment and you look around in another compartment, and you can choose a compartment. If you've not been assigned a seat, you can choose a compartment you want to go in. Pardon? It used to be like this, because the only train I've been on is a Virgin train. I've been on a few trains, but none of the trains I've been on have out compartments in this country.
The old trains.
The old trains, yeah? Okay, could be that nowadays in Austria they don't have them anymore either. But when I used to take the trains in Austria years ago, they did have compartments. So there was an old Yid that was walking through the compartments, and he opens up one compartment and he looks in and he says to the guy there, "Excuse me, do you have grandchildren?" He goes, "Yeah." He closes the door, moves on. He walks over to the next compartment, opens up the door. "Excuse me, do you have grandchildren?" "Yes." Close the door. Finally, he gets to a compartment, just a young guy. "Excuse me, do you have grandchildren?" He goes, "No, too young to have grandchildren." Great. He comes in. He says, "Excuse me, I saw you. You're walking up the whole train asking everybody their grandchildren and moving on. What's the story?" He goes, "I don't want to hear about their grandchildren. I want to tell you about mine." Yeah? But nobody wants to hear about your grandchildren. You can be proud of your grandchildren from today till tomorrow. But don't you feel the guys that walk up to you and show you the pictures of their grandchildren, you just say, "Well, stop being a nudnik"? I know you're proud of your grandchildren. I'm sure you love your grandchildren from here to the moon and back. And I'm not negating that. But why do you need to shove your grandchildren in my face? I'm not interested. And the same thing is true also when it comes, for many people, to Zionism. You can believe and be proud of the state of Israel and hold that pride in your heart from today till tomorrow, and nothing is going to change with that pride if you don't walk into every single room that exists and say, "I'm a proud Zionist." You can be a proud Zionist without having to tell everybody you're a proud Zionist. I can be a proud grandparent without telling the whole world that I'm a proud grandparent or parent. I'm very proud of my children. I don't go around telling everybody about my children because nobody's interested. Right? People don't. So If people don't want to, now you can stand together, and if you come together in a room with people that are like-minded, by all means go ahead and have conversations and be proud about it. But you might be in a room where people don't agree with you, and so therefore you say, well, I have to show my pride in my Zionism, and I have to stand up, be a staunch Zionist, and tell everybody I'm a Zionist, even though they all disagree with me. You're just as proud a Zionist if you don't tell them about it as if you do tell them about it. You're just being antagonistic about it, right? So I think there's a limit within that. That pride doesn't have to be always an open showing of what it is. You can feel the same amount of pride inside you without betraying that pride, without betraying your feelings for the state, and you're not a coward if you don't get up in a place where people will be antagonistic to that idea and you don't flaunt the idea. That's just being sensible, right? It's not being cowardly. That doesn't mean you're not proud. You're very proud. But here is not the place to display that pride. Okay? Any questions? You can ask any questions. I saw those people. We've run overtime. I usually try to finish by 9:30. Anyway, that doesn't want to make any questions or comments can make them now. Otherwise, we'll bench so that people can get moving with their day. Questions, comments? Going once, twice. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us live and joining us here.